Hello everyone and welcome to the Green Man channel. Hope you're doing good and well. So I recently put up a poll on my community page asking you guys if you wanted to see me talk about my favourite pop albums of all time, and the vast majority of you voted yes. So that's why I'm doing this video today, talking about my top 10 pop albums of all time. This was a pretty difficult task to do, firstly because pop music isn't exactly my go-to genre, or hasn't always been my go-to genre. I am very much a rock and metal and prog kind of guy. But saying that, I do love and enjoy a lot of pop music, and have done throughout the years since I was a child. So it's kind of always consistently been there for me as pop music, and I enjoy a lot of hit singles from these records. And I have to say, quite often that is why I've chosen some of these albums, because the hit singles I love so much that they sort of stand out and make that album better in my estimation than it might otherwise have been. But there are also some good deeper cuts on these records. Certainly on some of them, I really like the deeper cuts as well as the hit singles. So yeah, this certainly isn't, so with these pop choices, this isn't the kind of pop music that's more on the alternative side of the pop spectrum, the sort of more indie choices. This is much more pure pop for me. What do I mean by that? The more mainstream, commercially successful and accessible kinds of pop music that are much more likely to be recognisable to you. Certainly if you're kind of my kind of generation, I think you'll recognise a lot of these albums. You'll be like, yep, I know that one, I know that one. And yes, some of these also maybe were slightly less commercially successful. I think most of them were pretty commercially successful. But yeah, let's start here. And remember, this list is always very personal. These lists are always very personal. They're very much my own choices. They have context, and so you're likely to have your own lists of these albums. And do let me know in the comments what your favourite pop records of all time are. So coming in first at number 10, I've chosen the Pet Shop Boys debut album, Please, from 1986. And of course, I love the synth pop sound. And I do think that this duo had a way of using that sound very much to their advantage to work really well as well with their sort of vocals. And actually, AllMusic's Stephen Thomas Erlewine quite nicely summed up this record when he said, "This is a collection of immaculately crafted and seamlessly produced synthesized dance pop that sketches out the basic elements of the duo's sound." I think he's right, although I think this is still, even though it's a debut album, it's sort of like almost like their platform for what was to come in many respects. You still have fantastic hit singles on here, like West End Girls and Suburbia. I mean, these songs aren't slouches. These are great singles. I also like the Deeper Cut, which is the opening track on the album 2 Divided by Zero. I think this is a great album. It's certainly one of the Pet Shop Boys, for some reason, I do revisit quite a lot. Certainly I revisit the singles a lot, but the album too, I think, is generally a really good album, as a sort of cohesive whole too. Next up at number 9 is the most recent choice on this list. It is from 2019. It's Billie Eilish's When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go? And I think the thing that shines about this record the most for me is its authenticity. It's sort of got hip hop delivery about lots of the lyrics that Billie Eilish delivers in this album, but it's done in a way which I think is really intelligent. I think some of that is the production work of her brother Phineas. A lot of it is just the musicality of the record, the way it combines lots of different genres together successfully in this sort of softly, subtly nuanced way. And the album sort of has a lot of the hookiness of albums that have come before it, a lot of classic pop records that have those really memorable hooks. And this album has those, but they're done in a way which, as I say, is cleverly amalgamated with so many other kind of styles of music in lots of electro pop and sort of what people might call arty kind of pop music as well is combined here to create this very unique and interesting record for me. And I love the singles. You Should See Me in a Crown, Bury a Friend, and Illa Milo. There were lots of singles from this record, of course. I also like My Strange Addiction, which I don't think was a single, was a deep cut, but I really love that song. Now we move on to number 8 on my list, which is actually more of a pop rock record. In my mind, I always think of it as a pop album purely because of the song Cloud Number 9. This is Bryan Adams on A Day Like Today from 1998. And I also have very fond memories of this record, which is partly why it's made onto this list. I remember When You're Gone, the collab he did with Mel C from the Spice Girls. And actually, this wasn't super commercially successful for Bryan Adams, at least not in the US. It was his first album not to go platinum, I think, since 1983's Cut Like a Knife. So maybe it didn't quite have the success there, but I know in the UK, I remember Cloud Number 9 playing often on the radio. Also, I love the deep cut on here, which was Before the Night Is Over. That's a really good song as well. And there are other good songs on here. Again, it's not necessarily an album most people would choose from Bryan Adams as such, but it's kind of like, for me, it's got this radio play accessibility about it. on a lot of the songs on here, and I remember just really enjoying it since '98 when it came out. It brings back some fond childhood memories for me. Next up at number 7 is the choice on here that I think is not the choice, maybe the least expected from me, and it's partly because 2000s R&B, not really for me, and there aren't many records I can honestly say I particularly like from that kind of urban R&B kind of 2000s era. But Nelly Furtado's Loose from 2006 I particularly love, and I think it's because, yes, Timbaland's production is super sharp on here, and I think makes the album sound fantastic. But she also incorporates synth pop flavors and electro pop flavors, which I think is part of the reason why I really like this album more than a lot of other R&B records from that era. Very commercially successful, Nelly Furtado's most commercially successful album. So yeah, a bit of a shock pick maybe for many of you who might not expect me to pick Nelly Furtado, but I have, again, fond memories with this one. I remember going out with my friends, having good nights out and hearing Promiscuous coming on, the DJ playing that song, for instance, that single. Great singles on this one as well. But I also like the opening track on here, Afraid, which is a deeper cut I enjoy. So yeah, Nelly Furtado's Loose is my number 7 choice. Now at number 6 we have an absolutely huge album, an album many people would actually say is actually iconic, massively influential, from 2008. It's another 2000s pop queen here. It's Lady Gaga with The Fame, and instantly recognizable songs from this album like Poker Face, Just Dance, and I think Lady Gaga really tapped into something in 2008 because she had there was definitely a modernness to her music, a bit like Nelly Furtado. It's the kind of, there was something like she was using a lot of hip hop in her music, but it was sort of coupled with electro pop and a lot of synth, and that sort of gave her music, I think, this kind of enhancement. She's a great vocalist. She doesn't need her singing voice enhanced as such, but I mean the overall sound and delivery of her records was that bit more epic and bombastic because I think of the electro elements that were brought in and some of the huge beats like Poker Face, when it really kicks in with that bum 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 bum. It just sounds massive when it really kicks in, that track. And I think production's fantastic on this one as well. I love the singles on here, but I actually really like the title track quite a lot as well, The Fame. Check that one out if you don't know that one. Check the whole album out. It's a great record, The Fame, from 2008. Comes in at number 6, which brings me to my top 5. And I think all of these top 5 records are ones which I do genuinely love. These top 10 albums I all really like, but these top 5, I think in particular, strike a chord with me for different reasons. Madonna's True Blue from 1986 is actually my number 5. So what you like about Madonna, I think that she is kind of the embodiment of pop queen. She's able to produce very infectious, sometimes fairly simple, straightforward pop songs, but in a way which is emotional, effective, makes you want to dance. She makes people debate her songs and performances. She has that effect. She kind of has this contagiousness about her. She stays relevant. I think throughout the decade she's managed to stay pretty relevant. I think she had some good albums in the 1990s, for instance, as well as in the 80s, which sort of, I guess, was her heyday really, with albums like True Blue. It's absolutely tremendous record for me. But let's go into some of the singles on here. The singles on here are really the reason why. There's just a lot of singles that are just massive and brilliant, like Papa Don't Preach, Open Your Heart, the second song and second single, absolutely brilliant. La Isla Bonita, brilliant, kind of tropical Latin kind of pop song. My deep cut favourite, a favourite deeper cut from this record would be Jimmy Jimmy. What a great song towards the back of this record as well. It's absolutely brilliant. True Blue. So Madonna's True Blue comes in here at number 5. Next up at number 4, I've got another pop queen. A pop queen that, again, spans decades, not just one decade or one particular era. That is Kylie Minogue, the Australian pop princess, as she's often called. And this was her album from the year 2000 called Light Years, which I think is an absolute masterpiece. I have no hesitation calling this album a masterpiece. I think this is a masterpiece of a pop album. Great hit singles, and perhaps this album out of all of these has my favourite collection of singles. I think this album, I love the singles, pretty much all the singles on here, because you've got Spinning Around, classic single. I mean, I got a little bit tired of that one, but still a great single. On a Night Like This is a classic Kylie song. What a great song. Kids, the collaboration with Robbie Williams, very good song as well. Again, I got kind of a little tired with that one, but still a great single. Please Stay, one of the most, for me, underappreciated Kylie singles there have ever been. What a wonderful, dancey, Latin kind of pop track, with one of my favourite Kylie choruses ever. Your Disco Needs You is another really good one. Favourite deeper cut is the ballad, Bittersweet Goodbye. Check that one out as well. Like I say though, this one is probably worth checking out the whole album. I do think it is a Kylie Minogue special, a Kylie Minogue masterpiece from 2000 that came after an album which was more experimental. So this was like her returning to that commercial, accessible kind of Kylie. And, she did so with style. And the next records to follow also were very commercially successful for her too. So yeah, it was kind of like Kylie Minogue's return to the pop sphere in some style from the year 2000. Next up at number 3, a classic choice. Many people would have this, I'm sure, in their top 10 classic pop albums, right? It's ABBA, the Swedish group, with their album Arrival from 1976, which has lots of their biggest hits on. This one's the one with Dancing Queen on, so that's what I mean when I say it has some of their biggest hits on. But it has Knowing Me, Knowing You, and a breakup song which is as joyous as it is sad. The ABBA effect is that it sort of has this bittersweetness about its music. It sort of has a sad undertone, but it's really joyous, and it's about a celebratory style about it, which is always kind of hard to explain. And only when you listen to ABBA will you fully appreciate what I mean by that. I'm sure many of you know ABBA if you're watching this video, but yeah, Dum Dum Diddle. What a great deep cut on this record. I really like that one. One name for a song as well. 1976's Arrival from ABBA, one of my favourite pop records of all time. One that I genuinely regularly revisit too, so yeah. Whether ABBA's a guilty pleasure or not, I don't think there's anything to feel too guilty about. Yes, there's a certain cheesiness to their music, but is the writing good? Yes. Is the music good? Yes. Do they sound good? They sound amazing. So I think ultimately that puts that one to bed. They're great music. And at number 2 is the album Right. So very short story here. Revisiting this album brought me to tears. And it's because I hadn't listened to this for years, but I decided this was going to be super high up on my list because it affected me so much when I went back to this one. My sister copied this album for me back in the day. I think this CD. This is Dido and Life for Rent from 2003. And it is just, there's something in this album, and I struggle to completely articulate what this is. It's like there's an emotional resonance about Dido's music, or certainly a lot of her songs have this sort of subtle, understated emotional resonance in their lyrics and in the way she sings the songs. And I think Life for Rent is probably my favourite album that I've heard from her. I do also like her first album, No Angel 2 from 1999, but this one especially I think has a real beautiful resonance about it in her songs. It's certified 9 times platinum. I read here it's sold over 12 million copies worldwide, I believe, according to Wikipedia. I love the singles on here, but the deeper cuts on here are great too. Stoned is amazing. See You When You're 40 is amazing. Certain irony about this, because I'd not revisited this album for a long, long time. And the song See You When You're 40 is funny because I'm 40. So it's eerie. And there was something about this album, perhaps because it reminded me of a certain time as well. But it really emotionally resonated with me massively. The impact, it's the funny thing about music sometimes, you just can't hold back something which has been there inside you that you remember affecting you a lot, and then suddenly out of nowhere it comes back and it just brings out a very emotional response, which is exactly what happened with me with Life for Rent from Dido from 2003. 2003, the year of the dark horse, but I can't try and defend Life for Rent as a dark horse. It was too commercially successful. That was too commercially successful to be a dark horse. But Dido does have, I think, a dark horse which came after this record, but that's for another time. And my number 1 pop album of all time is therefore a 60s album, because I haven't talked about a 60s record on this list yet. Nor have I talked about a 2020s one, incidentally, but I want to let the 2020 sink in a bit more, really. But yeah, the 1965 Four Tops debut album is my number one. And this is partly because I go back very far with this album and the hit singles from it. You know, basically like Baby I Need Your Loving and Ask the Lonely. Levi Stubbs' voice, I mean, what an incredible voice that guy had. Just this sort of really powerful, haunting, almost chilling voice, the way he sings Ask the Lonely, for example. Obviously, you've got the songwriting team here of the two Holland brothers and Dozier, so you kind of what they call the HDH writing team behind a lot of Motown music of that era, which was, you know, and they wrote fantastic songs, and, you know, Four Tops delivered them in an absolutely inimitable way, a really powerful way, and the music is just super memorable and kind of just has this sort of, like, I've used the word resonance in this video probably a few too many times, but it beautifully resonates with me still today. It's got the sound of that era, but it will never lose its quality. I don't think this music, this Motown music, it will never kind of lose the power it had. And that's it. That's my choice for number one, Four Tops 1965. Hope you enjoyed this list. Do let me know in the comments your favourite pop records of all time. Otherwise, from me, until next time, is bye for now.